Welcome back to Desynced. My name is Nilaus, and this is a guide on all the things that I wish I knew before I started Desynced. Now, since the game launched yesterday, but I've had it in my grubby little mitts here for a week's time, then I have discovered many things that I did wrong, and I'm sure that there's no reason for you to do them wrong as well. So I'm going to make this video to show you a lot of the things that are just making things a lot easier, and hopefully you enjoy it. If you do, if you learned something new, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel for more guides. I'll be doing more guides on Desynced, not more Let's Play. The reason why is because, well, the Let's Play, you kind of have to continuity. Also, that is something I do over on Twitch. So come on by on my Twitch stream, Twitch TV/Nilaus, where we are experimenting, testing, and designing. And then here on YouTube, I'll be focusing more on guides from moving forward and explaining the very, very complex mechanics. Another thing is, if you want access to all of my blueprints, all of my behaviors, then and also all the save games, so you can see the designs yourself, then those are all available to patron supporters of the channel. So if you're supporting on Patreon, you can get a link in Discord to download all the good stuff that I've developed over the course of my playtime here. Now, the first hint is maybe feels a little bit facetious, but it is you're gonna thank me for it. You do the following. You hit escape, you hit endgame, you just started yesterday, it's fine. You go into new game, you set the resource richness to high, and then you start that game again. You've wasted 10 hours on playing this or something, that's fine. You're going to be wasting way more time looking for iron if you don't set the resource richness to high. I put 35 hours into my playthrough, and I very, very much regret not doing this because I spent way too much time on looking for more iron and tapping more iron deposits, and they run out as fast as I can tap them. So set the resources to high, and you will not regret it. If you another little hint is this one. Biters can be super annoying and quite dominant. They are not at all like they are in the demo. So if you want to have more of a factory game, set them to passive and enjoy a nice factory game instead of a game that feels like a bit like an RTS. So resource richness, absolutely. Consider the passive for the biters to make it more of a factory game where you can enjoy the factory aspects of it. And now back in the game, well, the best and worst thing about the Desynced is that, depending on who you ask, is all of the programming part. It's all the stuff that is in here where you do some programming, and that just works really well. And it's super cool that you have these kind of things. But the thing is, you don't need it. It's like the circuit systems in Factorio. You don't really need it. No, you don't need it at all. You can easily complete the entire game without it. It's just one of those things that for some people will be the best thing about the game, and for others it might be something that is too daunting, and therefore they will just refrain from playing it. So let me just come out and say, you don't need the behaviors. If you need behaviors, or the stuff that you need behaviors for is, in my case, I'm doing some very, very simple things. I'll just show you some of how simple those things are that I actually use it for. If I can even... Damn, this one's not even... Yeah, okay, this is like a really simple, just request items. Like, this is the extent that I generally use it for, like extending items or showing things. And it's just a lot. It's pretty simple. Also here, it's basically just a single one that it gets space items. So you don't need those things at all. And therefore, don't get disheartened if you don't feel like sitting here let's see, if you need to find one that actually has some kind of program. Like, if this seems daunting to you to go through this, don't worry. It's daunting to me as well, and I have no idea how 80% of this works. I can probably figure something out, but it's a completely separate game as itself. The stuff that I'm going to show you is stuff that relies very little on behaviors, and the stuff that I will be showing in future episodes will be leaning more heavily into it. But in that case, you can just copy the programs and then it'll work as is. A thing in the game that I spent an unreasonable amount of time on, sorry to admit, but then there's also a chance that you will do that as well. So when you look at your blueprints here, you want to make a blueprint because you build a nice building, and it's you want to have this as a template, and you just look at it and go like, there's a button here, there's a button there, where I don't know what's supposed to be. The thing is, if you select something, you select this building, for example, and then you go into the library, and you scroll all the way down past all the ones that are created, then you can see there are 2 grayed out lines, and you wouldn't think that grayed out lines are the ones you need to click on, but it is, and that's super confusing. If I click this button, Then I take whatever I have selected and create a blueprint from it. There we go. That's really neat. I can also just delete it again. Yeah, maybe. Alternatively, you can make an empty blueprint, and then you can just build it yourself with whatever you want in each of these locations as you see fit. Yeah, like that, if that's what you want. Also a good idea, and I'll delete that as well. So that's a very simple thing. Like, how do I even make a blueprint? Well, you go down here to the grayed out lines. I think that this line, this one box should be open so that you can see that it's interactable. Stuff that's grayed out is generally not interactable. But if just this button was interactable and this button was interactable, then you'd kind of get a hint that it is. But hey, you don't need it. You just got the advice from here. So here's another hint that is particularly useful in the beginning as you complete the first tech, like all these techs, when you just need some things here and we have to walk through this. What you can do is you can set the research here. Now I have a bigger research, and then whatever it's requesting is here, the missing ingredient. You can just use that as an input for an assembler that's placed in the same one, and then it'll actually start working on this and building it yourself. And this can be easier if you don't have like dedicated production facilities. So in this case, you can say it starts identifying that it needs an infected circuit board, and instead of requesting it, let's say I don't have it, then I will actually just start producing it in here, and then the subcomponents will be easier. In this case, it was brought in, so it started. But this is a really convenient way in the beginning to get some good change going. You can also do it for the plates here, because then they need the iron plates, and you can, on the metal plates, you can then use it as input for the next one so that I can build the metal plates for you directly. So the next thing we want to look at is the copy-paste settings, because copy-paste settings are really powerful here, and it's really nice to have powerful copy-paste settings. So I've just built a new miner. It is ready to go. It's happy, but it will need to have some kind of settings in order to match up. So if I find, for example, another miner, and let's say I want to supplement it out here and say, you want to be like this one, then I just press C, not even copy, not even Control C, just C, go back here, and then I just press V. Then it's copied all the settings onto it, and then it knows exactly what to do. There we go. Don't have to worry about it. If I've set it up correctly, the other ones, now I just have one more miner out there doing some happy mining. That's pretty cool, but it does get better than that, because I have another problem, and that's my junk storage is always full. What a surprise. So I'm going to just copy the building, and then when you press V for paste, then you actually get a template of that building right in hand. There. And then you can also just copy the other ones, copy, and then get these here, and then you can press V again, and you just stamp down these here. Pretty damn cool. And what it copies is, it actually copies all of these things. Now, granted, it really shouldn't be copying the portable power field, the behavior controller and signal reader. Yeah, some of those are a little bit redundant to copy paste, but it does copy paste all these things, and that will give us a new build here. It is incredibly powerful way of building things, because, for example, in this case, I'm in the process of building like this pattern here, but this is not how I want it. I'll just direct it over to that one, and this is coming from, I need to figure out, okay, so what is it actually coming from? It's actually coming from here. That's not what I want to build. I want to build that. And then all I can do is copy, paste, and paste, and then they're already done. And I can copy and paste again. Then I paste. Oh, right. I need to paste where it's empty. And then I can do 1, 2, 3, 4, and rotate again. 1, 2, 3. And that's it. Now I've just built all this, and as long as the first template was correct, then they will all just inherit all of the register settings, all of those interactions here, all of the locked keys here, which is again a problem because that's not the ones that should be locked here. So I'll just unlock that, and then again, copy, paste, paste. And then I can't paste on top of these. Can I? Maybe. Don't know. We'll see. And yeah, so that is in terms of the copy paste. You are unfortunately not yet able to copy paste like a section like this, so you have to copy it building by building, but it's still going to be a lot easier by just simply copy pasting. You can also make blueprints if it's something you're going to be doing a lot of times, but if it's something like this where you may need to have this, like the same structure of how these are pointing to each other, then yeah, just copy paste it, change the one thing that's different, and then you can use that as a template. So I think that's a very powerful copy paste tool, and definitely something you should incorporate into your building, because there's a tendency in the beginning to build as I did here a library of assembler with solar and circuits and reinforced plates because I thought I was going to need a lot of them. I don't. I should just build one and then just copy that one to the other ones. And if I need more, I can always copy them from somewhere else. So very simple and very much better to do that. Now we can dig a little bit deeper on one of the next things, and this is where things get a little bit complicated, and but it's also worth mentioning. So you have this button here, disconnect the logistics network. If it's part of the logistics network, all the drones will be able to service it. If it's not part of the logistics network, it will not. However, if you have something where the logistics network is turned off, but there is a store location, then that overrides it because the registers are higher priority than the logistics network. And behaviors as well. So it's behaviors, registries, and logistics networks in that hierarchy. So even if you don't have things assigned to the logistics network, it can still move things around. So keep that in mind. Also, it gets more complicated than that. But this is why this is the part here. So for example, this one is part of the logistics network because it needs to be receiving things inbound. But there is an option of right-click for options. I really wish these to be available outside of the network because, or more visible, because having a right-click menu is difficult, and it also difficult to decipher that what is actually going on. So in this case, what I want to have happen is that stuff is only brought into this location, then they are going to be funneled with this transporter between all the adjacent buildings. That's why I'm building it this way. And you can see it just bounces back and forth, and this portable will make sure that all of these are being serviced. Great. How do I make sure that robots don't bring things to these? Well, right click, there's one called only item transporters. That means this cannot be serviced by drones. It can only be serviced by a transporter. And since there's a transporter here, that means no drones will ever deliver into this one location. Pretty cool. On top of that, there's more. I also want to make sure that I don't bounce things back and forth between these two, because I have something here, I have something here. I could bounce these back again, and then they could sort of bounce in and out, and that's not what I want. So how would I achieve that? Well, I am putting this one on channel 1 because that's the logistics network for the entire build, but this one on channel 2, which is just basically a completely different logistics network. They will be able to communicate because there is a hard connection with this store register, so this will still be able to get in here. And then all the other ones here are also on logistics network 2, and then it goes back, and then it pushes in here, the registry pushes in, and this is back on level 1, so that the stuff that is part of the global logistics network are on 1, and then the sort of the subsection, the inside the module, is on signal 2. So really important things to keep in mind here. You can also make sure that these do not sort of become just providers for someone else, because if you come in here and drop things off, we're thinking about this in a Factorio requester chest perspective, but it's actually not. This is still available, so if you want to make sure that it doesn't become available in the logistics network, then you do this. Otherwise, a drone could come in here and pick these up and move it over to another location. And that's something I've seen, that they started sort of bouncing between particularly these iron plates, and these iron plates, when I'm missing iron plates, they just bounce back and forth between these two. And the answer to that is to uncheck the supply item, and again, uncheck the supply item. Then they don't bounce back and forth. If you don't have that set, they will be bouncing back and forth. So this is part of the brilliant and also way too complex part of this game, is that there are just so many reasons. If you see something not working, then it's like, okay, is it because it's on the wrong net channel network? Is it because it's not on a logistics network? Is it because it's not set to supply? Is it because it's overridden by a building? Is it because there's a behavior that overrides it? And that makes debugging incredibly difficult. But again, you don't need these things, and if you want to copy my builds, then you can just copy them as is without sort of really understanding why, as long as they work, and you can see that they continue to work. So that is the option as well. Like, it's like blueprints in Factorio, that sometimes you don't need to understand what's going on, you can just copy it and then use it as is, as a black box. So out here we now have a mining setup. I will be making a separate guide on how to set up this really cool mining setup, because it's quite advanced, but it works. So that's good. But I'll show you one thing that's something you can use in general, that is, well, we are going to need to have here. We're going to bring, basically how it works is the miners are mining, obviously. They bring it back to a storage twin pod that sort of stays nearby. But I need to bring the storage from here back again. So that would need a dedicated hauler bot, at least in the way I do it. You can do other things that are more advanced, but at least in this case, you have these going back and forth. And there's another feature here, and that's under the logistics network. Instead of clicking the logistics network, you simply click a transport route. This one enables a new feature. This was not in the demo, but is something that's now here. What it does is it says continue to pick up from the go-to and deliver to store require both go-to and storage to be set. As you can see, this one just came in, picked up 160 and went away. So the way it works is that you set it here, set that transport route, then you set the home depot, and then as you set the go-to, you can just set that by right-clicking. Then it goes in, picks up 160 as much as it can, goes all the way back and drops it off at this location. And as long as that's set, it just goes back and forth. It'll go here until it can pick up something. If it picks up something, it'll go away. It won't wait until it's full. It'll just pick up, if there's anything to pick up, it'll pick it up and move back. I have 3 haulers in this setup going back and forth because that's just, I feel that that's needed with all this, with these miners going here, going busy, and it's quite a bit of a distance away. So that's a cool way. You can also do that if you want to dedicate a hauler from different parts of your base. Maybe you have a remote mining location or a remote smelting location and you want to bring stuff back. Then you can use haulers with the transport route to just make them go back and forth. Make sure that when you have a hauler that you do not also click it into the network, because if you do that, then sometimes it'll just be servicing normal logistics requests instead of going back and forth. And you want the hauler to go back and forth and not do anything else, or using that transport route back and forth like this one is. So that's something that's really neat, and again, doesn't require any behavior. Previously in the demo, it was something that you have to set up behavior, like go there, wait until full, go back, and that kind of thing. But that's not necessary anymore. So much improved, and this is generally something that we can see between the demo and the early access. There are a lot of things that were previously symbol codes in behaviors that are no longer necessary to actually make into behaviors, but can be done sort of easily. So the next part is about some bots that you can have in your base that will just serve as sort of cleanup and just helping out with little things. So when you reach a certain size, you can have some bots dedicated to certain topics or certain objectives. This is our vacuum scout. I highly recommend using a scout because it's fast and it has 4 inventory slots by default. So use one of those scouts before you lose them. And what it does, it needs a radar. It doesn't need any behavior. You can see there's no behavior here, and it still works absolutely brilliant. What it does is it has a condition here that says anything that's dropped item, and it has another condition. This means that all of these conditions have to be true at the same time. It says in power grid. And then it just keeps scanning. If there's anything in the power grid that is, and also of course range-wise is this area here. Anything with this range that's on the ground and in the network, then go pick it up. And if I just go a little bit over here, then hopefully this will be close enough to detect something that is dropped on the ground. Oh, it detected something on the ground. And there we go. So it will go here, pick up stuff that I had to destroy it just to get it done. It fills up the inventory. Then it has a store location. This store location is set to a junk location we built at the start of this episode just for this purpose. Exactly. Boom. It puts things over here. And then it can go out. You can use this, put it on a hotkey. So if you, for example, are out here and you're clearing some space and you see that there are some scattered resources here, you can just take the robot number 2 and just go like, oh, you know, just get it out here in this general area, and it'll just sweep up things that are nearby, but only when it's inside the network. So if we look at it here and then go out to this location, we will be able to see that it'll pick up this one, but it won't be picking up these even if they should be closer. So let's actually just make that as clear as day, because the reason why I wanted to only work inside the power grid is because otherwise it'll pick up that one and that one and that one, and then it'll go out here and get itself killed, and scouts are expensive. So this one now, obviously the next thing is that, but it didn't go there. It decided to go home because it couldn't find anything else on the way. And that is inside the network. There's more scattered up here, but it's not detecting it because it's outside of the power grid. Really convenient. It means that you don't lose your scout all the time because it decides to go wandering out into the world. So the next robot I want to show you is something that's just convenient to have in your base, just in case. And let's say that you can have it with your army or whatever you want, or you can also just, if something happens, then someone has been taking damage. What happens then? Lo and behold, we have a heal bot coming in, a heal cup coming in. It's coming in and starting to heal this up again. Because this, again, no automation or no behavior. All it does is it scans for damaged units. It doesn't make a different distinction between whether it is a vehicle or a building. It just says anything that's damaged and friendly, then go there, and then it starts healing it automatically. Anything in this range will be healed. Anything in this range will be detected, and you can then sort of, if you have your attack force like this, they could come back, and if they come back and have some scratches, then you can just send your little repair bot out in the way and help it heal up. It doesn't heal fast. You can have more of these in one group if you want, but you know, once you're out of danger, then things just can be healed up slowly. So that's another really inconvenient thing. And the last one is the deconstruction bot. This is something that I've spent a lot of time in the beginning just realizing how do I even deconstruct things in this game. It seems weird. Like, you're looking at it and go like, where's the delete button? And there is no delete button. What it has instead is that it has a component here called the deconstructor. It's a small component that you have in the beginning. So what I do is, well, I don't want a portable reader here. And these are not necessary. All it needs is a deconstructor, and you have to put it on a hotkey. So for example, hotkey number 5 in my case, and then you just drag it from there, and then it deletes it. And if you then want to, then you can just send your number 2, the scout, the vacuum scout, over here to clean up the stuff that was left on the ground. And that's kind of how I do it. I don't need the scout to be sort of roaming, but if I notice something on the ground, then I just summon the scout, just 2, and then click here, and then it'll come back. So that's pretty neat. And we can just continue to delete this if we feel so inclined. There, and once this repair bot has been emptied, there we go, and then I can just send it over here to pick up again. So I think those bots are just really easy and convenient to have in your base, so that you don't have to do everything at once. And here's one more tip: if you want to pave the world, and of course you want to pave the world, why wouldn't you? And you just drag a big chunk of stuff here. Great. All right, what happens immediately? Every single drone in your base is going to be stop what they're doing in terms of feeding the rest of the base, and they're going to go over here and start working on this. And that's super annoying, because that means now the whole base is getting stuck because they're so eager to fill up this one. Which means that I tend to not do this because, yeah, it was just really really inconvenient to sort of have the entire base stuck while I was laying down foundation. Foundation is something you just always have to just propagate the foundation outwards and make it more happy. But this is just an absolute nightmare to look at, because it's either going to be too much focus or no focus at all when there's nothing to do. And then you sort of have to build like a little bit and a little bit so that you don't use all of these. So what's the solution to this? Well, you have the one building here, and you just set that over. You check it out from channel number 1, so it's only on channel number 2. Well, what does that mean if it's only on channel number 2? Channel number 2 is not the main logistics network. All of these drones here, if you look at them, they are only assigned to channel 1. So the fact that it puts it on channel 2 means that it's not available to any of them. But that means nothing gets built now. They go down here, and then there's nothing more to build. So what do? You have one single builder. I gave it a foundation plate as an icon so we can see it. This one is then assigned to channel number 2, and this channel number 2 consists of currently only this one. So that's the only one. This one means that one drone will be only putting this, and all the rest of them will be either idle or working on the rest of the base. The only thing you have to make mindful of is that someone has to take care of metal bars coming in. So you have to take your metal bar production and then also add that to number 2. Not instead of, but also in addition to auto broadcast the available resources to channel number 2. Which means that this one will be, once it runs out of this location, it'll actually also go over here and feed it in that location. So this is a good way to sort of have your rest of the base operating, and then just gradually, just very slowly, it's not going to be fast, but just gradually just filling out more foundation. And then if you want more foundation here, you can fill it out there. If you, of course, want to blitz it and do it urgently, or you just don't have anything else for your robots to do, you can just flag this one. Didn't I just flag this one too? Oh, there you go, there you go. And then you will have a flurry of activity and all your drones will start working on this. Depends on how you want. Currently my base is pretty idle, so that is an okay way to set it up. Cool. So I think those are some of the things that I wish I had known in the beginning that that definitely makes my base more stable and more easy to work with. There are a ton of more advanced stuff, but I wanted to get done with some of the things that don't really require any behaviors, so you can get started, and then we will do some cool designs that require behaviors, and you can then copy paste those into your own game if you like it, or if you are more of the programming type, then you can just expand it and improve it beyond that as well. Thank you very much for watching. If you have learned something new, be sure to hit the like button. If you want to see more content of Desynced, check out my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Nidaus, and also here on YouTube. There will be more, but they will be in the form of guides instead of Let's Plays. Thank you for watching. Until next time, take care and stay effective.